Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Ramirez, and I am the host of my podcast, Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez. And with me is a special guest. He is Kadin McElwain. Did I say that last name right?
You did. You did, Jordan. I've had it pronounced many different ways, with the most recent one being McLean.
Okay. So before we talk about the movie you have chosen, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe what my audience may or may not know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was diagnosed with autism when I was 2 years old, and throughout my life, I was told I wouldn't amount to anything because I had autism. But thanks to my stubbornness and having amazing parents in my corner, I was
Hmm.
able to prove those naysayers wrong. And now I'm a college student at Kent State University, a sophomore and a PR major to be exact. And I'm also a writer and activist, and I'm basically on a mission right now to bring autism awareness to as many people's attentions as possible because I feel like in today's society, that's a cause that's often put to the side. And I really don't get it. I really
Mm.
don't.
No, I don't get that either. I mean, as somebody who is also diagnosed with autism at about a year and a half, I also have problems with being stubborn at times, and also the fact that I have to concentrate on one thing when suddenly I'm all over the map on multiple things. That organization is the key that I have to focus on, as well as attention. And I mean, it's great that I'm not the only person who is diagnosed with autism. I've met many other people when I was at Pepin Academies, which is a school for people with diagnostic disorders or maybe other disorders, that I have had the chance to meet with others who have not only been diagnosed with autism, some have been diagnosed with CP, others have mental issues or learning disabilities. But I find that to be, I find that it's great to have somebody else like yourself talk about this issue, because I like to get a different perspective once in a while. It's great to have different perspectives, as the movie we will be talking about right now. So thank you for being with us, and it's a pleasure to have you on this on my podcast, and it's a great honor.
The pleasure's mine, Jordan. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. So the movie you have chosen for today's episode is the recent 2023 animated feature fantasy film Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, released in 2023. And before we get to, well, let me just go over a few of the cast members that I have with me, featuring the voices of Lana Condor, Toni Collette, Annie Murphy, Sam Richardson, Liza Koshy, Will Forte, Colman Domingo, and Jane Fonda. I had to memorize as many as I could. Why did you pick this film, and how does it relate to the topic you will be discussing right now?
Absolutely. I've seen a couple of episodes and normally ask how I got into this film. So to answer that bit, it wasn't exactly legal goal that I got into. When I might have pirated it
Oh,
on Flickstore and all these other sites after seeing the trailer, because of course I have always had a bit of a mermaid obsession type thing, as I'm sure most men do. But I chose this film because of the moral of embracing who you are and not caring what others think of you, which I find really great about animation these days. Although some animated classics and recent animated movies overdo it in a
hmm.
way and cause controversy, I think it's nice to finally see movies talking about embracing who you are and more adult topics. And also, it's Jane Fonda.
Yes.
Of course, it's gonna be good. She's a legend.
Yeah, I love Jane Fonda and any other movie that she has done. Up from her early work up until like anything she's done recently, whether animated or live action, she's really good. But I thought that the character of Ruby Gillman was interesting because she and her family are Krakens that are living out in the above world instead of living in the sea, and they're trying to pretend that they are not Krakens, that they are from Canada, which I thought was pretty funny at first, and that Ruby, I finally understood who she really was the moment that she sets foot in the water. She begins to question, why did her parents lie to her? Why did they keep it a secret? And why did they not tell her that she was it that she was royalty, which I thought was I don't know if this is very common in other animated films or other stories like this, where you have a protagonist who is being kept on the surface level, but not knowing about who they were or who they are, and then they have to find that out on their own. If you have seen other films that deal with this type of storyline.
I think I've seen a couple of her films, but very have the cliche plot of you have to find a long lost sibling or long lost parent. I think another good one with that plot, if you will, was Arlo the Alligator Boy
Mm,
on
yes.
Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that movie a few years ago because it was a film that I also love inverted storylines where you have, the cliche stories about you focus on what audiences like versus maybe what the outsider or the minority characters that could have had a movie of their own also like. That's what I liked about Arlo the Alligator Boy. I thought it was a pretty interesting story, and it was actually one of the films that I think sort of connected to me because I thought it was a different movie, and later they had an animated series that followed after, but I thought they were both pretty good as well.
I absolutely agree.
Hmm. Okay, so any uh so did you also notice any other films that deal with autism that are not like overdone in a cliched way, or maybe that are very sympathetic,
Hmm.
that are similar to this film, if you have seen any?
Well, not necessarily similar to the film, but it's actually about someone with disability. It's an underground animated film called Barrel,
Mm,
about someone who is deaf but can hear what other people are saying, and then he goes on to open a school for people with disabilities in Montana and become this powerful figure in film. It's an underground film
mm,
animated entirely in this software called Plotagon, and it's
mm.
by this guy called Stephen Quinn, who also goes by Redemption Films on YouTube.
Oh,
Who,
that's good. No, keep going. I want to learn a little bit about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Plogon is basically this text to speech animated software where you just enter in text, choose what emotion you want to convey in your character, and then you have yourself a movie. I use it all the time for fun. And I think it's amazing how far technology has gone to the point where people are making whole movies using just their phone and then applications. And it just goes to show that there's no need for fancy Hollywood production
Mm.
software anymore. Anyone can make a movie.
Yeah, that's good to know. Um, is it like a free software at a low cost, or do you know how much it is, like pricing wise?
Oh, for the app itself, it's free for the base six. But if you want the bronze package, which includes more settings and more character outfits, it's 99 cents a month.
Mm-hmm.
For silver, it's 2.99, and for gold, it's 5.99. And to get everything in one sitting, it's $50.
Hmm. That's cool. Okay, so now that we have discussed a little bit about the film Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, do you think that the film itself is I thought it was a great film overall, that I enjoyed it. Do you think it's a good film for maybe parents or other kids who are diagnosed with autism to learn about the similarities between Ruby Gillman's character and maybe, let's say, a person who is diagnosed with autism or any other maybe disability to relate to this?
Absolutely. I think it's good for everyone. Disability, race, sexuality. I think it's anything. The moral of the movie is to embrace who you are and don't let anyone one tell you that you're not worth that. I think
Mm,
that's what we need in today's divided society.
mm.
People are slamming each other and hurting each other over who that person is, when really basically urging that person to embrace who they are.
Mm. That you do make a great point because I mean, I always find that the best way for me when I do my podcast, I never bring up anything to divide me or the guest on the podcast because that's not what I do. What I try to do is we try to find common ground. We try to leave any divisions out of it because that's not what I want to bring. And I say, you know what? If you have something that you want to bring up that people want to learn about, that's fine. As long as it doesn't cross the line, that's where I would say, okay, maybe this is not where you want to put anything that's political or anything that is divisive into into a platform like this, because I think that's what we do need right now, because no matter what our differences may be, we always have to find common ground, no matter where we stand or what our issues may be. But you're right. I do believe no matter your gender or your sexuality or your race or your views, we're supposed to be all the same, no matter how we think of the world today. So now that we have moved on from that, so when did you when did you start advocating for autism, and how had this cause made you who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. It started with a class project for my freshman year of college when I was at Lake Erie College. The assignment was to help the community out, so I figured why not set up a GoFundMe with my group for Autism Society of America. We raised $1,085 for the organization, and we actually ended up winning a contest that the school had for the community service projects. But unfortunately, as typical with what I like to call the TikTok generation,
Mm-hmm.
my group only did the assignment to get the grade and the prize we ended up getting, which wasn't even too extravagant. It was just $300 to use at the school convenience store restaurant type thing,
Mm.
if you know what I'm talking about. And I also noticed that autism, like I said, isn't an issue necessarily brought up with the people in power, Congress, Senate, that kind of thing.
Mm.
TikTok bans are, Draxo bans are, furry bans but not anything that actually helps people with special needs. So I figured if no one else is going to bring this issue to people's attention, I might as well. So from that class project, it led to me doing all sorts of cool stuff. I gave several different speeches. I raised over $200 for one of my favorite organizations since in my county called Lake County Special Needs Birthday Club, which helps throw birthday parties for children with special needs. I hosted a toy drive for Christmas for those who have disabilities. And right now I'm doing another fundraiser with the host of another show I was on, where all proceeds during the month of April for her 4 books will go directly towards the Lake County Special Needs Birthday
Mm.
Club. And it's not easy, but I believe in the cause. I really do.
I I appreciate what you do, and I thank you for your service in bringing awareness to breaking the myths and the stereotypes of people diagnosed with autism. And I thank you again for being on this show, to bring this awareness. So I know you may have been asking this question a lot, but let's say somebody who wants to know, how is it that a person could who is diagnosed with autism, maybe when they start out, at first they may not be able to speak or may not be able to learn great communication skills. What can you say to that person who may or may not be familiar with somebody who is diagnosed with autism? What can you let that person know so that they can, see it from a different perspective?
Mm, I would say to that person, I would recommend that you learn about autism, and to the school. schools and teachers, I would say, tell your students about autism and do your job to accommodate those students with autism and special needs. Because when I was in middle school, I tell this story all the time when I go on these platforms. My services were actually completely cut off without my parents' consent. And what's, from what I heard, is actually illegal to
Mm.
do. So I would say to the schools, don't cut services and educate students about autism. And to the parents of said person with autism, I would say live up to their full potential because they are capable of so much more than what society thinks people like you and me are capable of. They can make great strides in the world. We've seen it with people like Temple Grandin, Isaac Newton, Einstein, Frederick Nietzsche, Courtney Love. Of
That's amazing. And I did remember you did another podcast where you did mention those specific names, and I was maybe aware of some of the names you had mentioned, and I was not familiar that they had been diagnosed with autism, but it's good to know because when I went to Pepin Academies, I also was unaware that some of my or the actors or scientists or world leaders they also had disabilities, but they managed to become who they are today. They managed to be great leaders. They managed to be great entertainers, and they managed to advocate for those who may or may not be aware that this person was diagnosed with this disorder or this disability. Excuse me. But yeah, it's great that I get to learn about this stuff that maybe I wasn't aware of when I was a child. So thank you for sharing this information.
Absolutely, man. I didn't even know all these amazing people had autism until I looked it up, and I'm still learning about autism every day during this journey of self-discovery.
It's great too. I mean, I'm trying to learn more about myself every day as well when I always try to figure out who I am, and maybe when I read like a book that I attended a class when I was at Hillsborough Community College, I looked up the facts about like different ages of a person diagnosed with autism, that when you start young, you may have trouble speaking out or maybe communication issues. I don't know if that, I mean, that I don't know if that was common in your case or maybe in mine, but and also there were a lot of things that I was unaware of that as you get older, you start developing skills that maybe you didn't know you had, but you have to keep on trying and trying, like building steps because it's something that I thought maybe I could teach myself how to do this instead of trying to blame myself or trying to look at my past failures. So I thought maybe I could bring that up as well, since I'm also diagnosed with autism as well. But yes, so did you see this show that aired on Amazon Prime? I think it was called like it was a show with real actors. Three of them were diagnosed with autism, and I remembered they came to the Family Cafe when I was there in 2022 or 23, and I think it was called like something Unseen or something like that. I don't know if you were familiar with that show that aired on Amazon Prime.
Hmm. I don't think I am. I haven't really had time to watch much TV like I used to. Schoolwork has been crazy for me. I actually have straight A's right now,
Oh,
but I'll definitely look it up once we're done with this.
oh, yeah, that absolutely. And what I found in this interview that one of the actors gave was that, and I didn't know this as well, that for some of the actors who are also comedians, they were able to sort of blend in, sort of like instead of showing too much of their instead of showing off like as of their autism, they would have to I think they said like you could mask yourself by trying to blend in, not trying to stand out too much or something like that. Or I may be misreading what the interview said. But anyway, the series I watched is great. It's basically about the lives of three ordinary people. Three of them are diagnosed with autism, and I thought it was great that they had real actors with autism playing themselves, which I thought was impressive and about their lives. And also that in other movies and TV shows that I have seen, like I'll give a few examples, Rain Man or the show that I was watching, The Good Doctor, you had actors playing characters diagnosed with autism. And sometimes I always wondered if maybe they're doing it right or maybe they're doing it wrong. I mean, it depends on the actor's learning of how they try to do it. I don't know what your take is on actors portraying characters with disabilities.
I would say I think they try to make an effort, but it seems fake. Fake. The only person who would probably be able to fit the role would be actually someone on the spectrum. I like in Splash, Daryl Hannah's character. What was Cece was the mermaid. What was her name? I
Madison.
think Madison.
Yes.
Right, right. See, Madison was most likely on the spectrum. He was trying to adjust to being on land and the social skills of the human society. And Daryl Hannah killed that role
Mm.
has, believe it or not, she was actually swimming like a mermaid throughout her entire life before that role.
Mm. It is amazing. I mean, it led up to The Little Mermaid, which came after Splash. I mean, I remembered seeing that movie too. But but before I was unaware that Daryl Hannah was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, but it's good to know these little things here and there. I always also try to look up maybe other actors or directors in the entertainment industry who try to not show that you can have actors who are not on the spectrum, as you said, playing these roles. But also, it would be great just to have actors blend in and playing characters that are true to themselves, that play the characters that they want to play and not pretend to be something else, which I think is a bit of a problem for me. And I don't know if anybody else would be have that situation. Okay, so do you have any other recommendations of what other? Well, you mentioned what was that one film you recommended, and I'm sorry if I interrupted. That is similar to the movie Ruby Gillman. That maybe would be a great recommendation for learning about movies and how they could relate to autism awareness.
I recommended Barrel, the movie about the person who's deaf but can still hear what other people are saying.
Mm. Okay. So Mer is it how do you spell the name of the title so that maybe I could look that up?
Sir, it's Barrol.
Oh, Beryl. Oh, Barrol.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the recommendation. Now I usually don't like to ask too many questions about this, but so what other so goodness gracious. Okay, so what other topics can you share that maybe my audience may or not be aware of, like upcoming events or anything that maybe my audience could reach out to you and say, "Oh, I want to meet this guy because he sounds like somebody who could teach me about this perspective." Like any upcoming events or any upcoming podcast streams, so that my audience could look you up.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow, at the time of this recording, how will be on the podcast of another person who's on the spectrum called Stone Gye. I don't know how you would pronounce that, but I think Stone Guy. I doubt it'll be a live stream, but that should be fun. And then I got a whole week of podcasts this upcoming week, with one being a food one, which I'm really excited about.
Mm,
And if you want to communicate with me, you can follow me on Facebook, KADINRONALD. You can follow me on Instagram at 73 posts here, all one word.
okay.
And, and you can follow me on YouTube at Kadin 73, all one word as well.
Oh, that's good. Thank you so much for letting my audience know. So what uh, did you see any other film? Okay, did you ever see the film Coda that won for Best Picture in 2022, the Apple Plus movie?
No, I don't think I've seen Coda.
Okay. I just thought I would bring that up because it was another film that was about a person who was a child of deaf parents, and I thought it was a pretty amazing film to watch because it's basically you have three actors, the mom, the dad, and the brother who are deaf, and the actor who is speaking who can communicate to her parents. And I thought it was a really great story to watch because sometimes whenever I mean, we mentioned this before. Whenever I see an actor portraying a character with a disability, um, I have mixed reactions. Either I like the portrayal of how they get it right, or maybe they're overdoing it. Like maybe they're not doing it accurately. That I think maybe a person who has a disability, who has, as you mentioned, is on the spectrum, could play this role. That I think would be very convincing to me. Um, so, um, so okay. So do you have any other questions, like any other suggestions that maybe my audience would like to know about you besides what we have discussed on this episode?
Nothing else except keep spreading positivity.
Oh, that's good. Okay, and I know we have a lot of time, so maybe we'll just go into a little bit about I don't want to go too deep into what you're doing because maybe I haven't thought this way through. Okay, so do you know of any other people that you have spoken to that um has recommended other movies or maybe other TV shows that have opened your eyes to something that maybe you hadn't seen this before, but maybe it could relate to autism awareness?
Hmm, uh, I don't think I've had any other recommendations like that bad. But I would say if I had to choose one recent movie that came out that could relate to autism awareness or autism, I would say maybe in a sense Guardians of the Galaxy because of Dax.
Hmm. Wait, I know that I have last seen Guardians of the Galaxy. But what is it about the character of Dax that could let's say for those who have seen the Guardians of the Galaxy or maybe who are watching it for the first time, how the let's say they were trying to figure out how does Dax relate to the autism awareness community? Like how would you make the connection to that person so that they can understand?
Mm, well, in the movie, the Emperor, he takes things so literally, and he has that sense of humor to him and that social awkwardness that I have personally.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I also have social awkwardness as well. Okay, so that's a good recommendation. Also, Guardians of the Galaxy and Barrel. Is this a recent film or did this come out like 10 or 15 years ago?
It's a more recent film. It's only on YouTube, though. As I said, it's a more underground
Mm,
film. And as I said, it's made entirely using Polygon, the application on your phone.
mm-hmm.
So, oh, that's a really good movie. And it shows, like I said, you don't need fancy Hollywood production anymore.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I look forward to maybe meeting you in the future, and then maybe we could talk more about I don't know if you have any other upcoming events besides the ones you had mentioned, just to let you know. And uh, if, let's say, if someone asks you to be like a speaker for an event, or maybe they're doing an event related to autism awareness, or maybe those with special needs or disorders, um, just would you let the audience know of maybe like any other upcoming events besides the ones you have mentioned, or uh, is it like not, is it like not on the books at the moment?
Mm, well, on June 21st in Perio, I will be hosting a voting event where we give speeches about why it's important to vote in this upcoming election.
Mm-hmm.
It's strictly nonpartisan, and my hope is to get everyone in my county who's 19 or younger registered to vote.
Mm. And I do follow the advocacy of younger voters because since I am 30 at the moment, and I do sympathize with the younger crowd, and I also feel like because this election is important, I do have to say I thank you, and I thank all the other people that are pretty much the same age as you and I. I thank you for your service and letting everyone aware that, because we need a younger generation, and I do feel like I can't say this enough, but I feel like we need younger people, and we need everyday people to say you have to be your own leaders. You can't just rely on people who you think are the leaders of tomorrow, because you are the leaders of tomorrow. And as I say this once again, I thank you, and I would thank everyone else for their service. So it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
Okay. So this is Jordan Ramirez signing off, and with my special guest, Kadin McElwain, or Miguel. Sorry. Could you say your name one more time so that maybe I don't botch your name?
Yeah, it's McElwain.
Okay, Kadin McElwain. Okay, so this is Jordan Ramirez signing off, and until then, I'll see you at the movies. And thanks again, Kadin, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Talk to you later then.
All right, sounds good.
Uh,
Bye.
bye.